Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to one and all, graduates and guests, families and friends. It may be a little gray out there today, but it's a beautiful day inside. Today is a day of celebration, a rite of passage. My name is Peter Duick, and I'm the Director of Admissions and Registrar here at Royal Roads University. Those of us who work in my office are lucky. We were there at the beginning of your journey at Royal Roads, listening as many of you expressed doubts about your readiness to embark on this academic path, and watching as you generated the determination to make it happen. Then we were present again, paying careful attention as you completed every step on the way, recording your every success. And now it's our pleasure to join you as you celebrate this accomplishment. What you have achieved is nothing short of amazing. Many of you have been balancing the demands of your educational experience alongside family responsibilities and career obligations, and that's never easy. The time has come to sit back, take a deep breath, and enjoy each moment as we celebrate you and the work you've now completed. Today marks the 34th convocation for Royal Roads University. We are so pleased you've all been able to join us. Today is your celebration. Together, we look back with pride at what you've accomplished in this phase of your academic studies. And just as importantly, we look ahead with hope, knowing that you have plans to use your newly enriched potential to create positive change in the world around us. Before we begin, I have a few points to share with you. First, on your way into the theater, you should have received a convocation program. This includes the order of this afternoon's ceremony and the names of this fall's graduates. Second, in just a few moments, you will hear the strains of bagpipes announcing the academic procession of the platform party. I will ask you to rise just before the piper enters the theater. Meanwhile, please ensure that all cell phones and other electronic devices are turned off for the duration of the ceremony. Also, we ask that you remain at your seats for the duration of the proceedings. Professional photographers are positioned to capture the moment your graduate crosses the stage. Please do not block the aisles, as our graduates will use these to access the stage. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain at your seats for the procession of the platform party. Ladies and gentlemen, please join in the singing of our Canadian national anthem led by Eve Richardson.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Eve. Please be seated. I am now pleased to introduce to you Asmanahai Antoine, our Manager of Indigenous Education and Student Services. Asmanahai is here to provide us with a welcome on behalf of the Lekwungen families of Esquimalt and Songhees, on which Royal Road students work, study, and live. Asmanahai will thank all present, family, friends, faculty, and staff for joining in the celebration of our students' success, and will offer congratulations to graduating students. We are grateful to Asmanahai for joining us today and thus reminding us of the rich heritage of human presence on these beautiful lands.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. Haichka CM, Chancellor, President, Vice President, member of the Board of Governors, faculty, guests, graduands, and friends. On behalf of Chief Andy Thomas from Esquimalt Nation and Chief Ron Sam from Songhees Nation, they both send their regrets that they could not be here today, but they are here in spirit. With their permission today, I have the privilege to offer a traditional welcome and congratulations to all graduates on their behalf. First, I would like to acknowledge that we are on traditional Lekwungen lands, home to the Esquimalt and Songhees families. Please note, along the waterways around the Victoria Inner Harbor and around to the Esquimalt Lagoon, where Royal Roads University rests, were once the roadways between the First Nations communities. If we take a moment and think about who utilized the land before Royal Roads University, before the military college, before the Dunsmuir family, it was once the Esquimalt and Songhees families who resided and shared the lands and its resources, such as medicine, food, and shelter, with their neighboring families from Beecher Bay and Sauk nations. Since that time to now, there are numerous stories on the land, and now, graduates, you have become part of those stories. Congratulations. My name, Asmanahai, means caring for precious ones, which represents my mother's family, who is Nuu-chah-nulth from the Tokort Nation, and my last name, Antoine, represents my father's family, who is Carrier from Saikaz Nation. I've been residing on the Lekwungen lands for the past 17 years, and now, along with my blended family, which I am married into, the Caribou clan, the Notlay-Wutton, we definitely feel honored daily to be able to call this place our home. I mentioned my family heritage as it's important, and now I ask the graduates to please stop quietly in your heart, mind, spirit, with a smile, offer a thanks to your loved ones, whether they are here physically or spiritually. Graduates, Today, we are here to celebrate your accomplishments and successes. Please note, among the faculty and staff, they can be heard sharing your success stories, and it's an honor to be surrounded by the energy and pride among them. How I've been taught is if you raise your hands and turn to them, and in the spirit of the ancestors of the land, say Haichka Siem, and in turn, on behalf of your ancestors, say thank you in your language. This is a sign of honor and respect in the relationship you've built and shared throughout your journey. Note that some of the faculty and staff who were once your mentors today have now become your friend. On September 23rd, the building that I work in, which is the best place on campus, I believe, was formerly called the Aboriginal Learning and Cultural Center. It received a new traditional name picked by Royal Roads University community and extended community members. And I want to close with the symbolic meaning of Snakwa Ailen, the Blue Heron House, as I believe it's very fitting to everyone here. Blue herons represent an ability to progress and evolve. Their long, thin legs reflect that an individual doesn't need great, massive pillars to remain stable, but must be able to stand on one's own. Blue herons have the innate wisdom of being able to maneuver through life and co-create their own circumstances. These individuals know what is best for them and to follow their hearts rather than the prompting of others. The blue heron symbolizes patience, grace, balance, elegance, and determination. To all the graduates, congratulations on all of your accomplishments, and may your next phase of your life be a joyous one. In the spirits of the ancestors of the land, Haichka Siem, and the spirits of my ancestors, Kleko, Kleko.
Haichka, thank you, Asmanahai. It is now my pleasure to introduce our academic platform party, and I'll ask each of these to rise briefly as I call out their names. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chancellor of Royal Roads University and Chair of the University's Board of Governors, Dr. J. Peter Mickelson, QC. Sorry, I believe that's OC, Order of Canada. The President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Alan Cahoon. Our honorary degree recipient today, Mr. David Dodge. Mr. David Cohen, accepting the Chancellor's Community Recognition Award on behalf of the Butchert Gardens. The Deputy Minister of Advanced Education, Ms. Sandra Carroll. The Vice President, Academic and Provost, Dr. Stephen Grundy. The Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Dan Tulip. The Dean of the Faculty of Management, Dr. Pedro Marquez. The Associate Vice President, Research and Faculty Affairs, Dr. Mary Bernard. The Associate Vice President, Community Relations and Advancement, Mr. Paul Corns. The Associate Vice President, Student and Academic Services, Ms. Roberta Mason. And the Director of Executive Education, Ms. Zoe McLeod. We also have with us today members of our Board of Governors, Dr. Charles Kruzkopf, who is also the presenter of the honorary degree recipient today, Ms. Melissa McLean, Mr. Tony Ruffalo, and Mr. Wayne Strandland. Also joining us today in the platform party are members of the university's faculty, and I ask them now to rise and be recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, I now ask our Chancellor, Dr. Peter Mickelson, and then our President, Dr. Alan Cahoon, to give their opening remarks.
Thank you, Peter. Members of the Board of Governors, faculty, guests, graduands, friends. Today is the 34th convocation for Royal Roads University. While convocation is a time to pause and reflect, it is also a time to recognize and celebrate the academic achievements of today's graduating class through the conferring of degrees and certificates. Today is my final convocation as Chancellor of Royal Roads University, as my term of office comes to an end at the end of this year. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve in this capacity and to work with the faculty, the staff, and meet some of the students at the university. It has been a great experience. Today I want to talk about relationships. Reflecting upon the varying roles I have fulfilled over the past few decades, I've come to appreciate the importance of relationships. Personal ones, professional ones, those between governments, and relationships between peoples and cultures, and how relationships have influenced outcomes. It is these relationships of trust developed between both individuals and peoples that assist in moving the sticky points towards resolution. I did not enter directly into the study of political science, but came to it through the back door after completing a degree in engineering, but then decided to change fields, what to do. I thought I'd take economics, but at the University of British Columbia, one needed a double major. So I added political science by default. It's an odd juxtaposition of degrees. Some might think the switch an odd one, engineering to political science. But engineers solve problems, and in the field of Canadian politics, there's been no shortage of problems. In my first course in Canadian politics, a guest lecturer gave a series of lectures on federalism. I was riveted by what he said. I know, to each his own, but I was hooked. My term paper for the course examined Canada's search for a constitutional amending formula. Several years later, the research that I had done was instrumental in developing Alberta's position on the general amending formula. I must confess that my grade was 7 out of 10. If you were generous, it might be a B or B minus, depending on how you look at it. However, I must confess that I misspelled the word amend, thinking it looked better with 2 M's. This, of course, was before spell check. In 1965, which kind of dates me, the Royal Commission on Bilingualism and Biculturalism produced its preliminary report. I picked the report off the new acquisition shelf in the Duke University Library and began to riffle through it. One sentence in particular caught my attention, has remained with me ever since. The commissioners wrote, quote, "We have been driven to the conclusion that Canada, without being fully conscious of the fact, is passing through the greatest crisis in its history." Wow, I thought. Has the country changed that much in the 3 years I've been away? What was this crisis the commissioners were referring to? Whatever it was, I knew I wanted somehow to play a part in averting it. I was then in my final year of my PhD studies. The report referred to Quebec's being a distinct society and the need for dialogue between English and French-speaking Canadians. In essence, that report and the subsequent final report was about critical relationships within Canada. 4 years later, in 1969, I became an advisor to the Alberta government and attended my first constitutional conference in Ottawa. In one capacity or another, I was actively involved in all constitutional negotiations for the next 23 years. In 1974, the government of Alberta approached me to see if I would be interested in working for the newly created Department of Federal and Intergovernmental Affairs. Because I'd already planned to take a year's sabbatical leave, I decided to accept. 2 years later, I was in the thick of a series of federal-provincial negotiations over patriation of the Canadian Constitution, and along with it, a number of specific constitutional reforms. There were also legal challenges that Alberta and some other provinces initiated after the Government of Canada decided to embark on a unilateral course of action with respect to patriation. The objective of patriation was to transfer control from Canada's Constitution from the United Kingdom Parliament to Canada. The outcome of those legal challenges and subsequent negotiations has altered the course of Canadian history. Although patriation of the Constitution and its amendment was achieved, it was done over the objections of Quebec. It was 31 years ago yesterday that the patriation agreement was reached. Two subsequent efforts to bring closure to this matter were the 1987 Meech Lake Accord and the 1992 Charlottetown Accord. Both ended in failure, and to that extent, the Constitution remains unfinished business. But the 1982 constitutional amendment included the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Aboriginal rights, equalization, and the amending form, to mention a few. And all of these subjects that I've just mentioned continue to engage Canadians and their governments in debate today. One that readily comes to mind is Senate reform, but I won't digress. While in government, I had the opportunity to travel throughout Canada and to build relationships with people from the federal, provincial, and territorial governments. The result was my deep appreciation of the regional, cultural, and other differences that coexist side by side within a system of shared values and sense of community. Although positions and perspectives differed, participants in negotiations came to trust each other. These personal relationships, or trust ties, are critical to overcoming intergovernmental disputes and obstacles that arise constantly, which have the potential to escalate into more serious problems. Moreover, these relationships endure long after the issue has been resolved. In 1993, I became involved in an even greater life-changing experience. I was appointed a commissioner on the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples to replace one of the commissioners who had resigned. The Commission's mandate was comprehensive. Our 1996 report included recommendations on self-government, land claims, economic development, health, housing, education, justice, and other issues critical to the relationships between Aboriginal peoples and Canadians and their governments. The recommendations in the report were many and varied, but the report, along with its comprehensive research studies and the record of hearings, continued to be a source for understanding and furthering the relationship between Aboriginal peoples and Canadian society. Every time I think about our report and its recommendations, I think of the word respect. To me, respect is the underlying principle upon which all healthy relationships are based. It is as essential to the relationship between Aboriginal peoples and other Canadians as it is in family relationships. Our research on the history of the residential schools probably affected commissioners more than any other matter we examined. The appointment by the Government of Canada of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for residential school leavers stems from our report, and hopefully its efforts will go a long way in healing the wounds left by such institutionalization and abuse. A few weeks ago, I had the privilege of being a witness at the opening of Blue Heron House, which you have just heard about, on the Royal Roads University campus. As a witness, I am obligated to remember what was said at the opening ceremony. In my remarks at the ceremony, I commented on the chapter in the Royal Commission's report on education. It is worth repeating the beginning of the report's chapter on education. I quote, "In Aboriginal societies, as in many societies, children are regarded as a precious gift. Control over the education of their children has been a pressing priority of Aboriginal peoples for decades. This is not surprising. The destiny of a people is intricately bound to the way its children are educated. Education is the transmission of cultural DNA from one generation to the next. It shapes the language and pathways of thinking, the contours of character and values, the social skills and creative potential of the individual. It determines the productive skills of a people. Over the years, I have been fortunate to be able to combine theory and practice. That's one of the things I treasure about Royal Roads University, the applied nature of our degrees. The combination of working at the university and in the public service allowed me to develop and propose solutions to seemingly intractable problems. An experience that fulfilled my graduate student dream of becoming involved in the future of Canadian federalism. When switching to political science, I could never have predicted this career path, my participation in Canada's constitutional odyssey. Underlying all of my experiences, however, lay the importance of relationships, starting with the most obvious ones of family and friends. At all levels, be they within academia, government, or in other professions, relationships are shaped and influenced by individuals. And it is the intersection of such relationships and the ideas produced that has been so rewarding over the years. One relationship that has been so very important to me is my relationship with the students I have taught over the years. The opportunity to guide and supervise people who share your enthusiasm and curiosity about a topic you love is very special. Seeing those eureka moments, when an expression of bewilderment turns into one of comprehension, makes it all worthwhile. Now let me tell you a story. During the time of my life when I was deeply immersed in the patriation negotiations, my wife gave me a maple leaf for Christmas. Not just any maple leaf, but one that still retains dark crimson color, being dried, pressed, and beautifully framed on a dark green background. As a piece of art, it certainly made the grade, but that isn't why she gave it to me. She gave it to me because, to her, it represented Canada and all it stood for. And it represented my career as a Canadian political science and constitutional geek. It is to both of us a symbol of a certain period of our lives and of a culture, a way of life and an incentive. It's hung above my desk for more than 30 years. I look at it every day, and as I do, I think of many things. Mainly, it reminds me of how very fortunate I have been to live in this country. No nation is perfect, and certainly not Canada. But here, unlike some countries around the world, we have opportunity. Opportunity to grow, to risk, and to make life better. Not just for ourselves, but for others in this increasingly small world of ours. And we have a society around us that will support us in our endeavors. I've been fortunate to have had the opportunity to help effect change, to aim for something better than what is. Bettering what is something we all can and should do in our personal lives, our communities, our country, and sometimes beyond. So, find a symbol of your own that reminds you to strive to make change for the better. Try to be generous with that most valuable commodity, time. To give back some of what has been given to you: courage, strength, persistence, diligence, and commitment, all of which you have, or you wouldn't be sitting here today. Perhaps this week you'll find something, a picture, an ornament, a box, some memento that you'll keep for the rest of your life to remind you of today and the importance of this milestone in your life, to remind you of how you got here and where you plan to go as a result of obtaining your degree from Royal Roads University. So, reflect on the past few years, which I'm sure have witnessed many defining moments for you, and take your new skills back to your communities, your workplaces, and your homes, and help to make the world a better place. It is my hope that each one of you graduates will form personal and collegial relationships that enrich your lives as mine have done. Thank you for your attention and best wishes in your future endeavors. Before I go and sit down, I mentioned at the beginning, that's a celebration. And as a celebration, I would hope that the audience would participate in celebrating that. When somebody crosses the stage, that's my mom, way to go, Dad, that's my grandmother. And we have a little contest between the afternoon and the morning ceremonies. I must say, the morning ceremony was really noisy. Now, there are fewer people in the hall, so don't let that deter you. But there's a challenge there, and I can't tell you how many votes they got, but the judges may be quite hard to come up with a correct decision. Anyway, have a good afternoon.
Haichka Siem. I too acknowledge that we are on the traditional Coast Salish territory and also acknowledge the surrounding territory of the Sanjees, Esquimalt, Beecher Bay, and Sauk First Nations. The land beneath Royal Roads University used to be known as Chichen Coast Salish name that refers to this gathering place used for gathering of herbs and medicine, and a place devoted to community, a place to reflect on changes, community needs, and aspirations. And that's what Royal Roads is about. Now, Chancellor has challenged us to see how competitive you can be with this morning, and Dr. Marquez, I'm not sure that the School of Management is up for the challenge, but I would agree. I'm just saying, it was pretty noisy this morning. Thanks for being here and being part of the celebration, as the Chancellor has said. And I think it's an opportunity to take credit for a lot of hard work. Let me just say a few things since I have captured the Deputy Minister and can suggest some advice or some instructions on behalf of the institution. Royal Roads has a unique place in the post-secondary system in Canada and British Columbia. We were created specifically to respond to the labor market needs of BC and beyond, and to approach education in a novel and effective way, and to bring that knowledge to people who are in the workplace. And as a consequence of that, after 55 years as a Royal Roads Military College, we're now completing 18 years as a public university. And we have now nearly 20,000 alumni as a result of that, alumni in more than 60 countries. These alumni have approved their value about this innovative idea of Royal Roads University. We have established ourselves as a world-class post-secondary institution that provides options to learning that others, more traditional universities, cannot. We are being recognized internationally and at home as leaders in graduating critical thinkers, great leaders, global citizens. We're creating an intergenerational and international learning environment that is producing global leaders, such as yourselves. Our innovative learning and teaching model is catching the attention of universities around the world who want to work with us and learn from Royal Roads in order to produce the outstanding graduates that sit before me today. And recently, our faculty received an award for an outstanding paper based on that teaching and learning model. Graduates, you have joined a highly networked community of learners and leaders when you arrived at Royal Roads. Learning and the skills that you acquire as part of your education matter. They matter for BC, they matter for Canada, and they matter for the world. They result in higher productivity, innovation, labor market development, and overall economic growth. They produce better citizens. For the learners, they usually result in better wages, greater job satisfaction, greater self-esteem. We see those smiles when they come across the stage, and that leads to improved health and improved quality of life. Learning, however, is not an endpoint. Rather, it's a continuous process that occurs throughout one's life. For the health of our society, it becomes all the more critical in this complex and increased globalized world that we face. According to David Blunkett, the former UK Secretary of State for Education and Employment, in a knowledge-driven economy, the continuous updating of skills and the development of lifelong learning will make the difference between success and failure and between competitiveness and decline. And as you reflect on your experience at Royal Roads University, let me remind you of the 5 pillars of learning that constitute this experience. And we had an interesting discussion last night between our 2 honorary degree candidates, Dr. Dodge and Dr. Elise Allen, about learning and the kind of learning that was required. So let me remind you those 5 pillars of learning that are core to our learning model at Royal Roads. The first is learning to know, the development of skills and knowledge needed to function in a world, the formal acquisition of literacy, numeracy, critical thinking, general knowledge, the mastery of a particular topic or a particular learning. Second learning is the learning to do, the acquisition of applied skills linked to professional success. As Dr. Mikeson's talked about, the applied application of the programs at Royal Roads, learning to do. Third important learning is a learning to live together, the development of social skills and values such as respect, concern for others, of social and interpersonal skills, the appreciation of cultural diversities. These are fundamental blocks for social cohesion as they foster mutual trust and support and strengthen our communities and our societies as a whole. Fourth principle of learning, or pillar of learning, is the learning to be, learning that contributes to a person's mind, body, spirit. Skills include creativity, personal discovery, acquired through reading, through the internet, through activities such as sport and art. And fifth, learning to transform oneself and society. When individuals and groups gain knowledge, develop skills, and acquire new values as a result of learning, they are equipped with the tools and mindset for creating lasting change in organizations, communities, and societies. So the last part of that learning that you've been exposed to, now talk about your responsibility to transform self and the society, the community around you. These pillars are firmly planted in the bedrock of our applied team-based experiential learning. We have, by design, taken on the challenge of re-envisioning post-secondary education to make it meaningful in the world in which we live. In a recent article in the Times Colonist, there was a headline said, "Amid school cuts, Royal Roads opts to expand," which suggests that in spite of the challenges facing universities and college system, Royal Roads is bucking the trend. And Deputy Minister, I want to make sure that you know that. By design, Royal Roads is the only university in the province with a mandate specifically targeting BC's labor market needs to fill that skills gap. But the skills gap is not just learning to know. There are other ranges, as I've suggested, about those kinds of skills. Success, even with limited resources, is due to our choice to shift programs to programs that are growing and healthy in areas of student and employer need, and away from those programs, quite actually, that are declining or struggling. And we had that conversation again last night. So we're nimble, Dr. Mikeson, and flexible in terms of design, adding, but we're also rigorous and disciplined about our programs that need to be changed or are no longer relevant or no longer necessary. Royal Roads defines itself as being market responsive in terms of the degree programs and certificates, and they're represented by the fields of graduates who will cross the stage this afternoon. Royal Roads has always been a pioneer in implementing the extraordinary technological changes that are exposing or are happening in the world of education. And we had this fall an interesting dialogue that started with one of our faculty members who's present on the stage today about what is our technology and how current and how relevant and what is the nature of learning and how is that changing over time. It is an incredible debate which will culminate in a workshop that the faculty have organized, I think, later next week. We are pioneers in the use of a blended delivery system, which is a combination of online and on-campus programs that maximize the use of our limited resources. We meet budget pressures because of outstanding staff and faculty who are passionate about what we do and why we do it. We have a unique institution-wide integrated learning and teaching model that guides our delivery and design of new programs. We are blessed in this province with a vibrant and diverse post-secondary system that share a collective commitment to the development of this province. It is distinctive in the diversity of its institutions in terms of their focus, mandates, emphasis on teaching, research, and local and international responsiveness. Unfortunately, these are challenging times, and we understand that challenge and are trying the best we can to assist in making sure that we evolve appropriately. I believe strongly that investments in post-secondary education are what the citizens of BC need for the future prosperity, and preparing for the knowledge-based economy that is critical to Canada's long-term growth rests with its colleges and universities. We are the necessary infrastructure required for a healthy and prosperous British Columbia. Royal Roads is earning its way and will continue to provide enormous value to the people of BC and beyond, and we will be celebrating those achievements through our graduates today. The world continues to change, and to remain relevant, we will change with it. We are building at Royal Roads the foundation to address the need for greater commitment to global leadership and global citizenship. As our knowledge of the world increases, so does our responsibility to make wise decisions with regard to wealth creation, justice, environment, and peace, among other considerations. Let's all be certain no one possesses the answers, all the answers of the issues that we face today. The only certainty is that each of us is invested with the responsibility to take action based on knowledge to allow for sustained progress. The vital connect between listening, learning, and leading sits at the heart of our mandate. It is a connection that's brought us here today. To celebrate what has been accomplished, to rest for a moment before we continue to solve the problems and create change and opportunity in our world. Today, we will graduate 898 students. 197 of those students are from places other than Canada, including Bangladesh, Belgium, China, Cuba, France, Germany, Hong Kong, India, Mexico, the Republic of Moldova, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Switzerland, Taiwan, United Kingdom, United States, and Uruguay. Thank you very much. Heichka.
I would now like to call on Ms. Sandra Carroll to bring greetings on behalf of the Honorable Emmerich Verk, Minister of Advanced Education.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to join your ceremony, even with the few budget comments. I would also like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish and acknowledge the surrounding territory of the Songhees, Esquimalt, Beecher Bay, and Sooke First Nations. Minister Verk, the Minister of Advanced Education, would have liked to be here, so he sends his congratulations. For me, it's truly an honor to represent the Government of British Columbia in ceremonies like this. As the Deputy Minister of Advanced Education, I have the opportunity to participate in 25 of our post-secondary. It's truly the best part of my job. I feel the excitement, the sense of accomplishment for all the students, the energy from the faculty who have participated with you in your program. As mentioned, it really is the best part of the job. No budget talks here. There's 898 credentials being awarded at these ceremonies, and 197 are from international students. That number is growing. Congratulations to that. I'd also like to congratulate the CEO of GE Canada, Elise Allen, and the former Bank of Canada Governor, David Dodge, who will receive honorary degrees. Commitment to lifelong learning is the hallmark of Royal Roads. I've had many colleagues participate while they're working, juggling careers, juggling work, and that's what Royal Roads truly accomplish. So many of you are also in that situations. Just think of all the free time you're going to have now. As the Chancellor indicated, he has a maple leaf in his office, and I just thought it was interesting that I also have a maple leaf in my office. And it was given to me probably 25 years ago in a ceremony like this. And the maple leaf is from a piece of tin from the Parliament in Ottawa, and it was given to me to recognize the opportunities in Canada. And I carry it with me from office to office internationally, thinking back of hard work that it took to get here and the opportunities moving forward. I agree, pick up something like that or take one of your tokens to remember all of the efforts, all of the difficulties you had to get here, but the smile that you made it. So congratulations. In deciding to attend Royal Roads, you really do have the benefits of a beautiful campus. And as I mentioned, before I became Deputy Minister, I thought the campus was beautiful. It had a nasty hill to run up, but I truly did not acknowledge the outstanding faculty and programs that is there. You made a good choice. The investment you've made in your education will provide you with the rewards that will last a lifetime. You'll create a foundation for your success, both personally and professionally. You'll have lifelong friends. Convocations are unique amongst the milestones of our life because they celebrate the past accomplishments and also anticipate the future. As you prepare for the next phase of your life and your career, I encourage you to take some time to reflect on your success. That free time that you generate won't last long. Congratulations to all of the graduates here, and again, thank you for allowing me to participate in your success.
The Royal Roads University Chancellor's Community Recognition Award was created in 1998 to recognize the efforts of individuals and organizations whose actions or service has made an outstanding contribution to their community and to humanity. In addition to the award they will receive, the recipient's name is inscribed on a plaque which is kept on display at Royal Roads University. It's my pleasure to introduce the recipient of this year's award. Would Mr. David Cowan, General Manager of the Butchart Gardens, please come forward? Butchart Gardens has been an ideal example of sustainable entrepreneurship from its inception in 1904. The beginnings were humble as Jenny Butchart sought to create beauty in an otherwise undesirable space. As her husband's quarry on their property emptied, she arranged for tons of topsoil to be brought in by horse and cart and used it to line the quarry floor. Her vision grew into the sunken garden. The floral aspirations didn't stop there, as the Butcharts, under Jenny's direction, established a Japanese garden, an Italian garden, and a rose garden. It didn't take long for the space's reputation to grow. By the 1920s, more than 50,000 people were visiting annually. Over the years that followed, generations of Butcharts have brought their own ideas to the gardens, always committed to the beauty of the space and the notion that it should be shared with others. The gardens now attract almost 1 million people annually. They come to see the blooms, and over the years, cultural attractions such as a variety show, symphony concerts, and the immensely popular Magic of Christmas display. Underneath the show lies a deep commitment to sustainability and natural spaces. The Butcharts and the gardeners they employed were committed to sustainability long before green became a buzzword. It started with the notion of re-envisioning a cement quarry into a vital green space, and continues through responsible pest and plant management, recycling and building operations. Such a commitment is evident in the garden's focus on hand weeding around more than 1 million bedding plants throughout the property. The legacy started by Jenny and Robert Butchart is now under the care of their great-granddaughter, Robin Lee Clark. Under her stewardship, the iconic attraction remains true to its roots as she builds on the legacy entrusted to her. For the garden's vision on beauty, community, and business, Royal Roads University is proud to present Butchart Gardens the Chancellor's Community Recognition Award. I'd like to give Mr. Cowan the recital I've just read, and I'll take it, give it to him, he'll give it back to me, and I'll take it over there. And behind me is a plaque which relates to that as well. You don't have to take it right now, you can take it home later. So the floor is now yours.
Chancellor Meekison, President Cahoon, First Nations, faculty, staff, honored guests, and most importantly, to the graduates. It truly is an honor to stand here today after 110 years of the Butchart Gardens' existence on behalf of the thousands and thousands and thousands of staff and the family that has worked so hard to present a polished gem to the world. It truly is an honor to be recognized in this fashion. The best awards just come. They're not the awards you apply for, they're the awards that come from the heart. And in your address today, I could feel the connection between Royal Roads University and the Butchart Gardens, because there is a historical connection between the Dunsmuirs and the Butcharts. And when Chancellor Meekison called to let me know that the Butchart Gardens had been chosen for this prestigious award, I had one of those moments. I thought of Jenny Butchart standing before a gaping industrial site and persevering with her vision to restore, beautify, and share. I thought of Mrs. Butchart in the 1920s hosting children's teas for the Queen Alexandra Hospital, and I thought of her grandson, Mr. Ross, receiving keys to the city for his work as a destination pioneer and an ambassador, his quiet but substantial support of hospitals and other key charities. And I thought about how his daughter, the great-granddaughter of Jenny Butchart, is now leading our company with as strong a social and environmental conscience as we've ever had. And then I thought about some of the distinguishing practices started by our founders which speak to our community values, the services we've continued for almost 110 years. Military are still admitted complimentary. When you turn 80, we host a very fancy party for you. And we're happy to lay out the red carpet for any visiting dignitary to our fair city. In our belief that the only way to teach quality is by example is something that we hold day to day today. We must provide dignified service. 4 cars is a lineup. Take visitors by the hand and for gosh sake, stand straight. Keep your hands out of your pockets. Say please, thank you, and smile. Now perhaps you don't see the latter points as social values, but every summer we hire our community's youth. We bring them into our home. And we feel duty-bound to train basic communication and service skills that will stand all of our staff in good stead for whatever career path they may follow. Yes, when Dr. Meekison called, it felt very satisfying to be part of a team being recognized for good community work. But then I remembered what Mr. Ross used to say. He said that today's laurels are tomorrow's compost. And I thought, well, then what are we going to do tomorrow? We've now hit a benchmark that's been identified in our community by a reputable institution. Much like your graduation today, we've hit a milestone that, like the values inherent in your degrees, we must now live up to. Wow, what an opportunity. The realization hit that what is most important is not what we did last week over the past 110 years. What matters most is what we do tomorrow. Our success and reputation that was built last week or the year before may have brought the visitor to our gate today, or in your case, it may get you a great job, but you and I will face the same challenge each and every day of our careers. We must impress every one of our customers and stakeholders, whether they are inside our organization or, more importantly, in our community. No problem. As the motto of Royal Road states, at the Gardens, every day we do live our learning. We do live our learning. And you will be well served to follow that same motto. While we will all stumble and fail in our quest for quality, regardless, I know that our organization is one that is incrementally improved every day of its 110 years, and I will try every day that I am there. But no matter how well known we are or become, as Mrs. Butchart used to teach, whether you're an astronaut or you work at the entrance gate of the Butchart Gardens, you'll never go wrong when you pay attention to detail, make whatever you do beautiful and socially valuable, and wherever possible, serve your community by being a good host and ambassador. Our way forward became clear and simple to me. It involves our community and our stakeholders, and that is important. And on that note, 100 years ago, there was a strong connection between the Dunsmuirs and the Butcharts, both on an industry and on a personal level. Whereas the Dunsmuirs were essential to the Butchart Gardens cement works at Todd Inlet because they supplied the coal that fueled the cement kilns, and the boats that came in with coal went out laden with cement. The Butcharts supplied the horticultural aspiration. And personally, I think that when the families got together, they probably discussed their gardens first and their business second. And I'm going to try and prove why I think that's true. And as Hatley Park evolved into a military college, the Butchart Royal Roads connection continued as Mr. Ross went through officer training. And you can still see some of that military discipline in the way we organize our departments, in the way we communicate internally, and certainly the way we do traffic control. And what a legacy each family left. Their estates have lived on and benefited our community, and through every season, the gardens at Hatley and Butchart give us an inspiration and a metaphor for learning. And if you look carefully, each garden holds a key lesson on how to run a sustainable organization. As William Rosenweig said, a gardener sees the world as a system of interdependent parts, where healthy, sustaining relationships are essential to the vitality of the whole. A real gardener is not a person who cultivates flowers, but is a person who cultivates the soil. And this is the business analogy. In business, we must develop partnerships where vision, values, purpose, and intent are aligned among all stakeholders of an enterprise: customers, employees, suppliers, shareholders, the broader community, and most importantly, the natural environment. Well, I say these are words to live by. And both horticultural and learning are grounded in science. The more you know about the science of horticulture and the science of how people learn, or the science behind running a team or an organization, the better your results will be. That's why you're graduating today. That's why you came to school. As a gardener or a business leader, the characteristics of disciplined observation, the desire to search for the opportunity to build, to reclaim or improve, the positive attitude required to problem solve, the ability to adapt and evolve, and the drive to incubate something beautiful are all values that will serve you equally well in the vegetable patch or in the boardroom. And beautiful gardens, like successful organizations, are worth keeping. A good garden will outlive its designer and provides the necessary lesson about succession planning. Gardens, like all organizations, need engaged stewards to carry them forward. And what lessons do gardens provide about business modeling? I'm sure you're curious. In the case of the Butchart Gardens, Mr. Ross did not necessarily focus on the financial plan of the day. Rather, his role as a steward of his grandparents' garden, he focused relentlessly on the concept of delivering a beautiful garden and focused on how that translated into value for his community. And he did that all the while knowing that he faced a huge challenge, that of monetizing an experience that the community already felt that they owned. Furthermore, because gardens are incredibly expensive, well, he needed his community to buy repeatedly, tell two friends, come again and again. And this was way before the internet. It's truly amazing to think that the Butcharts were the sole North American patent holders for Portland cement when they arrived in Todd Inlet. And from that, they built fantastic wealth. That is true. But it was their garden that became the sustainable and most enduring part of their business. The quarry at Todd Inlet lasted 4 years. The gardens, 110, and they'll go 1,000 more with good management. It's amazing that the Butchart Gardens now stand alone, globally best in class as a thriving business with no government support or endowment, 110 years after Jenny decided to do the right thing and not just restore something that her family had used. No, she decided to beautify it and then share it graciously with her community. I guess good things happen to good people, and that's why I'm standing here today. But most importantly, I believe that Jenny Butchart held this one value to be true. Gardens are about imagination and they're about renewal. They are a connection point for community and nature to come together and therefore elevate what we do in our daily lives to the cultural level. And that is an important example for all of us to follow, especially as we develop our careers, run our businesses, and strive to add value to our community. Now, graduates, as you go forward in your career, let's agree that values such as these will be important. Realize that your career will likely unfold like a meandering garden path. You may have picked up a map at the entrance gate, but I hope you'll have the courage to occasionally leave that map in your pocket and go forward motivated by the pure thrill of exploration. Remember to keep your pathways narrow because it keeps you close to what's important: the flowers, your customers, your staff, and your community. Realize that the world will not be the path to your garden gate without collaboration or a true effort to add value to your community. And when you're recognized for your future success, and surely you will be, remember that you'll have the opportunity at that point for humility. When you are at the top of the mountain, you'll see that the view will be splendid, but that every visible trail leads downwards. In that moment, please have the courage to challenge yourself and imagine a new pathway upwards. By doing so, graduates, you'll be honoring the values inherent in the designation bestowed on you today. By doing so, you will become our community leaders of tomorrow, and we're all going to rest assured that our children's future will be truly sustainable because we trust you'll be running your enterprises based on the wisdom you've gleaned from our community gardens. How wise and bold you are going to be. Happy graduation, and Chancellor, staff, Royal Roads University, from all of us at the Butchart Gardens, thank you for this deep honor.
We are pleased to confer the Honorary Doctor of Laws degree today. Dr. Charles Krushkoff, will you please present the honorary degree candidate, Mr. David Dodge.
There's a circle on the floor.
Heichke. David Dodge is one of the world's most respected economists. Throughout his career, he developed a record of providing stable direction during financially turbulent times. Complementing that professional acumen is his direct approach and honest opinions on the world around him. Dr. Dodge's career has spanned senior positions in the Central Mortgage and Housing Corporation, the Anti-Inflation Board, and the Department of Employment and Immigration. After serving in a number of increasingly senior positions at the Department of Finance, including that of G7 Deputy, he was appointed Deputy Minister of Finance in 1992. He later held the position of Deputy Minister of Health before accepting his appointment as Governor of the Bank of Canada in 2001. During his 7-year term there, he deftly managed through several difficult economic events, including the terrorist attacks of September 11th, the dot-com bust, and the US recession. Dr. Dodge has been credited with keeping inflation close to target while promoting strong job growth and the lowest unemployment in a generation. A hallmark of his success is Dr. Dodge's attitude that it is all right to make mistakes, that in fact it is important to take risks and to not fear failure if you want to improve something. Dr. Dodge is a believer in education and the vital role it plays in empowering people to be innovative. To that end, he has shared his expertise in the classrooms at Queen's University, the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, University of British Columbia, and Simon Fraser University, and he is the current Chancellor of Queen's. Based in Ottawa, Dr. Dodge is now a senior advisor with Bennett Jones, where he counsels clients on national and international economic developments and their effect on businesses globally. For his respected leadership and strong contributions to economic development, Royal Roads is honored to present David Dodge for the honorary degree, Doctor of Laws.
Dr. David Dodge. That's one chancellor bombing to another, okay? Mr. David Dodge, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Royal Roads University Act, and in accordance with the recommendations of the Board of Governors of Royal Roads University, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa with all the rights, privileges, and honors here and elsewhere thereto appertaining. Mr. David Dodge will now be hooded by Dr. Stephen Grundy, Vice President, Academic, and Provost. President Alan Cahoon will now present Dr. Dodge with his degree. It is with great pleasure that I now call on Dr. Dodge to deliver the convocation address.
One more speech. Thank you, Chancellor, President Cahoon, members of the board, faculty, guests, and most importantly, graduates. It's a great pleasure for me to be graduating with you today from Royal Roads. As of today, we've all become alumni of this institution. President Cahoon, I want to thank you and the university for this honor. An honor for me, certainly, but perhaps more importantly, an honor for the hundreds of public servants with whom I've worked for the last 40 years. Some of them are with us here in the audience today. Whatever I've achieved in the public service or at the Bank of Canada is mostly due to their effort, dedication, and creativity. It's been rewarding to work with them, and I hope that some of you graduating today will devote at least some portion of your careers to the public service at the federal, provincial, or municipal level, either as a public servant or, very importantly, I hope that some of you will become an elected member or official. But whether you choose to work or continue to work in the public service or business, in the voluntary sector or education in Canada or abroad, you face a world that is very different and much more challenging than that those of us who graduated 50 years or so ago, like your Chancellor and me. Our challenge, our main challenge, not our only one, but our main challenge, was to grow and manage the Canadian economy so that it could provide jobs for a swelling number of young Canadians. Your challenge is much more difficult. It's to increase productivity through innovation so that Canada can compete in an open global economy. During the last quarter of the 20th century, my challenge and that of my generation was to find employment for a rapidly expanding labor force, people who were born in the late 40s and the 50s or early 60s. We largely succeeded in doing that. Employment grew and total national income rose. But productivity, that is, the amount of goods and services generated by a given amount of labor or capital, did not rise, and hence median real income per worker actually did not rise much either. For the last 40 years, collectively Canadians have worked more and harder, but not smarter. Canadians, especially women, have spent more time in paid employment. The labor force participation rate has increased. We used more physical capital per worker, but we didn't necessarily use it more efficiently. In Canada, we generated one of the world's very best rates of employment growth, but one of the world's worst productivity performances. Graduates, your challenge is to change this dismal productivity record. It's a daunting challenge, but you know, those of us that are old and will want to draw pensions someday really rely on you. Over the next 20 years, the fraction of the Canadian population in the active labor force is going to decline from 68% to 58%. And it's going to continue to decline thereafter. So if we in Canada are to just to maintain today's average per capita standard of living, all of you will have to find ways to work smarter, not just harder and longer. You'll have to be creative, to invent new ways to produce new and better goods and services from fewer hours of work, smaller investments in machinery and equipment, and the generation of smaller amounts of pollution and greenhouse gases. In short, whether you're going to work in business or education or the public service, you're going to have to innovate. Now, productivity and innovation are easy words for me to say, but in fact, they're going to be very difficult for you to achieve. Innovation requires that you have both the requisite technical skills and the persistence to innovate. Now, in completing your degree here at Royal Roads, you've demonstrated to yourselves and to the world that you have the skills and the persistence to succeed. And I believe that you have the imagination to innovate. Innovation also requires that you think and act outside of the box. It requires that you take risks, and that from time to time, you fail miserably. To really succeed, you'll have to have the courage to go beyond the tried and true way of doing things, the courage to take risks, the courage to face failure when your innovation doesn't work, and the courage to face occasional rejection. As Churchill said, success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. There can be no innovation without failures along the way. Learning from failure is key to successful innovation for you as individuals, for institutions such as Royal Roads, and for businesses or institutions for which you work. But unfortunately, you'll find that my generation has built a Canada, whether corporate, educational, or government, that does not always welcome failures. Indeed, over the last 40 years, Canadian society, business, and government have become more loss-averse and more intolerant to failures. We've increasingly become a nation of checkers, not of doers. And the result has been, for the last couple of decades, Canada has been among the least innovative advanced economies. And this lack of innovation has meant poor productivity growth and stagnant real incomes. So your challenge, and the challenge facing graduating classes all across the country, is to overcome the natural Canadian proclivity to avoid risk. Your challenge is to create this new culture of innovation. Now, what sort of culture is needed? A culture that is encouraging to innovation is one that is tolerant of mistakes, at least mistakes made for the first time, not the same mistake made over and over again. Tolerant to negative results, and where failures along the way do not mean loss of face, loss of respect, or immediate financial disaster. My own experience in the public service in the 80s and 90s involved taking some chances and making some mistakes in policy and program design. My experience was that if I admitted my mistakes, and I made lots, and admitted them with great candor, mistakes that were made in the genuine effort to produce innovation, my ministers, Parliament, and the public was actually very forgiving of those mistakes. I'm not sure that the Ottawa culture is as mistake tolerant today as it was then. And as a consequence, public servants and public policy are perhaps less innovative than they should be. For each of you in the public service, I urge you to help create, or in fact recreate, a culture of innovation. So what is that culture? It's a culture where past failures are not a bar or barrier to new successful enterprises, where someone who has gone bust once trying to make a successful enterprise is not denied the capital to try again. It's a culture in which one who has failed in terms of one research project is not denied a grant to try again. An environment in which someone who's made a mistake at work is not denied future employment because of that single mistake. A culture that encourages innovation is a culture where kids are taught to learn from their mistakes, not taught to make no mistakes. A culture where mistakes in pursuit of innovation are respected. In short, a culture where individuals, enterprises, and institutions have the freedom to fail. It's your challenge to build that culture. And I can see, actually I can't see because it's the way the lights are, but I think I see in your faces the passion to truly succeed, to create a better world, and to do things better than I and my generation did. To create a culture of innovation here in BC and in Canada. I urge you to dare to follow your dreams. Dare to risk failure. Dare to build a culture in which gives all people the freedom to fail. Dare to innovate, and in so doing, you will create a better life, not just for yourselves or for your children, but for all Canadians and indeed for all generations to come. Graduates, I congratulate you on your achievements here at Royal Roads and wish you good luck in this challenge I've given you for the years ahead.
I now ask the graduates to please rise for presentation to the Chancellor. graduates. I can hear you rising. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you this graduating class of Royal Roads University on whom you've conferred the degrees, certificates, and diplomas to which they are entitled.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Governors and on the recommendation of the Academic Council of the University, I have admitted each of you to the credential for which you are entitled. I have invested you with all the due rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto appertaining. May you always be mindful of the motto of this university, living our learning.
Please be seated. Mr. Chancellor and members of the Board of Governors, we will now present the graduates from their respective programs. I would like to introduce Dr. Pedro Marquez, Dean of the Faculty of Management.
I'm truly honored to lead the next part of this ceremony. I have to tell you that you seem quiet and respectful of the protocol of this event. From this moment on, I'm going to have the honor of reading out loud your names and introducing you to your guests, friends, and the community. So I invite you to take advantage of this moment and make it your own. Dr. Dutch, you just spoke about productivity. Let's, for the sake of fun, define productivity as the number of expressions of joy, yells, and celebrations per student that works down the stage. Would you agree with me? I am honored to present to you today the graduates of our Master of Arts in Tourism Management program. Karma Rafe. Seth McIntyre Downs. Christopher Raymond Melmoth, Chancellor's Award, Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts Tourism Management Research Award. Jean Guy Robichaud, Founders Award. Timon Timnoy. Our Master of Business Administration program has been offered through Asia since 1999 through our educational partners. We would like to thank those graduates who were able to attend today's ceremony. I am honored to present to you today the graduates from our Master of Business Administration Executive Management program. Stephen Michael Alb. Aaron Keith James Alsop. Glenn Matthew Anderson. Adam Damon Andrus. Douglas James Barton. Michelle Belton. Ryan William Chapman. Shi Sheng Chen. Jennifer Lee Curdy. Paul Thomas Etchett. Eric Christopher Fagnetti. Corey James Halford. Aaron Edward Hardwick. Grant Albert Harris. Jane Elizabeth Ricarda Holloway. Lydia Kyung Holmes. John Richard House. Just Kagisi. Pamela Lynn Confused Finnegan. Michael Brian McKenzie. Holy Bernadette Esther McLennan. Jennifer Rose McWilliams. Barb Murphy. Deborah Janet Nichols, Ted Wilson Memorial Award for Lifelong Learning. Sarah Pierce. Kenton Jordan Puttock. Steve Reitano. Javi Gregory Richmond. Sumit Singh Sodi. Daryl Kenneth Williams. Kira Ann Jakimovic. Bai Sung. Chang Kai Yang. Chen Han Yi. Chen Ying. Yang Mao Liang. Chong Yo Wei. Fu Jue Ming. Fu Chip Peng. Gao Jingfeng. Li Xingyuan. Li Xian. Li Yan. Ling Yue Hua. Lo Chang Yi. Liu Ziming. Mai Junzhuo. Tsai Wen-jen. Tsung Jing Cheng. Wang Yi. Wu He Ying. Juan Chun Hua. Chang Chi. Chu Liang. I'm honored to present to you today the graduates from our Master of Business Administration Executive Management Consulting Program. Tanya Shelley Anthony. Jennifer Lynn Boston Didden. Virginder Singh Chen. Stuart Evans. Trevor Michael Greer. Sarah Helen Yacob. Deborah Lynn Nussbaum. Donia Marie Sutherland Baker. Colby Kenneth Bohan. And Jordan Arthur Young. I am honored to present to you today the graduates from our Master of Business Administration Human Resources Management Program. Maureen Elizabeth Langen. Leanne Jane Nickerson, Founders Award. Deborah Kathleen Sell. Maud Raman. I am honored to present to you today the graduates from our Bachelors of Art in International Hotel Management program. Si Wu. I'm honored to present to you today the graduates from our Bachelor of Commerce in Entrepreneurial Management program. Darren James Amy. Matt Allen Antwright. Kevin Arthur Barragan. Kelsey Amanda Bligney, Founders Award. Derek Michael Boland. Josh Brocklebank. Michaela Elizabeth Brownlee. Sarah Lynn Campbell. Shoshana Marie Canuel Kirkwood. Lindsay Victoria Cleash. Tivon Martel Levy Cox. Jessica Ann Derbyshire. Clifford Sean Denham, Eric C. Douglas Scholarship. Scott Thomas Dixon. Laura Patricia Doohan. Jillian Margaret Doherty, Founders Award. Erica Megan Dowell. Jeremy Bradford Daniel Flueling. Jason David Galley. Dani Sebastián Gómez Jurado. Leandra Audrey Grenier Green. Daryl Hank Griffin. Sherry Lynn Haight, Chancellor's Award, President's Scholar. Janelle Marie Halpini, Chartered Commerce Class of '97 Award. Mandeep Singh Harry. Mohammed Abdulruf Hatara. Timotheus Hugeboom. Haley Virginia Hunter. Jessica Marilyn Jensen. Samit Singh Kang. Lawrence Walter Kettlewell. Alexandra Carly Koulos, Grant Thornton LLP Award. April Joy Lagadin. Congratulations, very proud of you. Marie Michelle Laramie. Congratulations, well done. Emily Ann Lister. Congratulations, well done. Scott Anthony McGregor. Well done, congratulations. William Gary Merrick. Well done, congratulations. Gregory Keith Moore, Grant Thornton Award. Congratulations. Andrew Michael Morris, Founders Award, Eric C. Douglas Scholarship. Christian Frederick Neil Munhenk. Very proud of you. Congratulations. Anna Grace Olson, the Royal Roads University Entrance Award, President's Award. Catherine Ilifitstudi Owanafari. Congratulations, well done. Christina Elaine Pollard, President's Award. Well done. Very proud of having you here. Kyle Alexander Gary Preston. Enjoy it. Congratulations. Matt Stevens Quinn. Congratulations. Well done. Amber Dawn Ramsey. Congratulations. Well done. Bradley David Charles Rolston, President's Scholar. Well done, congratulations. Lyndon Murray Ruecker. Well done, congratulations. Amanda Ashley Shudden. Don Noel Sheldon. Congratulations, well done. Matthew Adam Tankin. Congratulations, well done. Jennifer Helen Taylor. Well done, congratulations. Brian Clifford Eldon Terris, Eric C. Douglas Scholarship. Kelsey Moriah Vass. Megan Elizabeth Webb. Melanie Rose Lee Wilson. Shauna Kirsten Julie Yule. Pengcheng Zhao. And Jonathan Alexander Walker. I would like to introduce Ms. Zoe McLeod, Director of Executive Education.
Good afternoon. I'm honored to present to you today graduates from our Graduate Certificate in Executive Coaching Program. Congratulations. Marie Ann Bainton. Lori Mae Ford. Maria Isabella Veroni. I'm also honored to present to you today graduates from our Graduate Certificate in Project Management program. Congratulations. Beverly Ann Kovic. Megan Elizabeth Smith. And I'm honored to present to you today graduate from our Graduate Certificate in Strategic Human Resources Management program. Congratulations. Paula Michelle Solmy. Congratulations, everyone.
I don't know whether it was enough noise there, Peter. Pedro, could you do a little better? Come on, let's have an applause for it. That's better. It's exciting to see the smiles on people's faces as they come across the stage and know that sense of accomplishment, and for them to know that you're here celebrating that success. So it is a pleasure to be part of Convocation. And the fact that Convocation signals the end of one phase of your engagement, a lot of nights, group work, team reports, Moodle, all of those interesting things that you grew to love. But it also signals the beginning of a longer-term relationship, an association that will, I believe, make you proud of your alma mater, as we are proud of you. Attend alumni events, connect online, know that we want to hear from you, We want you to continue to be engaged. We want to be part of your success. You have that certificate now that says you're a graduate of Royal Roads, and that imprint then is something that you take with you. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that we know how to respond and make you proud by what we do. The connections you made on campus with fellow students, with faculty, are not lost after graduation. Use these relationships as the foundation for whatever you choose to do next. You know, these are really challenging times, and it's about education, empowering people to do something. But there's some things going on in the world today that prompt us to think about it. And there was an article this spring in the Chronicle of Higher Education by David Barash, who was trying to make meaning of the Boston Marathon bombing in a challenging article which is entitled, "Why We Need Enemies." Evolutionary biologists debate whether we are biologically predisposed to be cooperative, to support each other, or be competitive and aggressive in focusing on survival of the fittest. He suggests that the evolution of the brain results not only from our ability to respond to friends, which is the collaboration, but also from a need to identify and respond to enemies. According to George Bernard Shaw, the greatest tragedy in life is to be denied the thing one most wants. The second greatest tragedy, to get it. What defines our success and achievement? Nietzsche put it another way. Whoever lives for the sake of combating an enemy has an interest in that enemy staying alive. Barish went on to observe that all too often nationhood and selfhood is often defined by one's opponents. So how do you define yourself? By what you achieve compared to others, or by what you do compared with others? So graduates, how do you make a difference? What is your responsibility with respect to knowledge? Where does the educational experience at Royal Roads fit into these challenging and troubling times? We had great advice from the address by Dr. Dodge about the challenges that we face as Canadian and beyond. What is the enemy or the combatant you have identified as a result of your experience at Royal Roads? How does that define your journey? Can I suggest something that may provoke you? The answer is expressed in Goya's great painting, "The sleep of reason produces monsters." So we ask you to reason, to be critical, to think and challenge ideas and conventions, to make the world a better place. We challenge you to take what you have learned and make a difference in our society, to use knowledge wisely, to use the skills that you've acquired as you assume leadership roles in your community and in your chosen careers. Work with us as alumni, as colleagues, to keep Royal Roads innovative, relevant, and adding value to the people of British Columbia and beyond. Today, the Chancellor noted that this was his last convocation, and I would like to thank, and you to join me to thank him on behalf of Convocation for his service as our Chancellor. Now I will ask all the graduates to rise. And I ask the rest of you, family, friends, faculty, and staff, to join me in applauding each of you on the completion of your programs. And while the graduates are still standing, I invite you to applaud the family, friends, and faculty and staff who've helped you along the way. Thank you and congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, this completes the convocation. Thank you for that warm thank you at the end of Dr. Cahoon's remarks. I have to say that this afternoon was probably the noisiest I've heard. But the other thing that I think we saw this afternoon, Dr. Dodge was saying, I can't see you, but it's all black out there. However, he couldn't see your faces, but he could see them as you crossed the stage. And I think you would rest assured that you will rise to the challenges he has presented you. So David, thank you for those comments. To all our guests, thank you for sharing this special event with us. I would like to thank the many staff and faculty who have contributed to making this day successful. The formality of our proceedings demonstrates the importance we attach to the traditions of higher learning. And we hope the pomp and circumstances have contributed to making this day truly memorable, and I will certainly remember it, and I look forward to hearing about your successes in the future. Thank you and good afternoon.
Now, finally, I ask you all to please rise and remain standing at your seats until the academic platform party has exited the theater. And to our graduates, again, we say congratulations. May you venture always to make a difference, to seek ways to inspire those around you, and to continue to excel in all that you do. Thank you.